Sometimes the universe has a strange way of bringing two souls together, doesn't it? What if I told you that the day I decided to sabotage my own blind date would be the day I met the love of my life? If you're curious about how a deliberately mismatched outfit and a secret millionaire collided to create the most unexpected love story, stay with me. And if this journey touches your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more stories that remind us how life's most beautiful moments often come when we least expect them. Emma stared at her reflection in the mirror, barely recognizing herself. The oversized plaid shirt hung awkwardly over baggy jeans that hadn't seen the light of day in years. Her hair was pulled into a messy, unflattering bun, and she deliberately applied her makeup in a way that would make any beauty influencer cringe. Perfect. This blind date would be over before it even began. You look. Her roommate Lily paused in the doorway, coffee mug frozen halfway to her lips. Interesting. Emma forced a smile. That's the point. I'm done with these setups. My mother needs to understand I'm perfectly happy being single. This was the fourth blind date her mother had arranged in 2 months. Each one more disastrous than the last. Emma had tried being polite, had tried honest conversations, but nothing seemed to get through to her well-meaning but persistent mother. So today, she was trying a different approach. You know, most people just cancel if they don't want to go, Lily pointed out. And give my mother the satisfaction of rescheduling? No thanks. This way, he'll be the one to walk away, and I'll be off the hook for good. What Emma didn't know was that across town, in a sleek penthouse overlooking the city, Daniel Chen was having a very different morning. As the founder of a tech company recently valued at over $1 billion, his daily routine typically involved board meetings and investment decisions. Today, however, he was nervously checking his watch, wondering if agreeing to this blind date had been a mistake. You need to get out more, his sister had insisted. Meet someone who doesn't know about your money or your company. Someone real. Daniel had reluctantly agreed. After his last relationship had ended when he discovered his girlfriend was more interested in his bank account than him, the idea of meeting someone who didn't know about his wealth was appealing. His sister had arranged everything through a friend of a friend, promising that this woman, Emma, was genuine, kind, and completely unaware of who he was. The cafe where they agreed to meet was small and unassuming, tucked away on a quiet street far from the financial district where Daniel usually spent his time. He arrived early, choosing a table in the corner where he could see the door. He'd dressed down in jeans and a simple button-up shirt, leaving his usual designer clothes at home. When Emma walked in, Daniel's eyes widened slightly. She looked different than he expected. Her outfit was a chaotic mix of patterns and sizes, her makeup oddly applied. But there was something about the way she carried herself, a quiet confidence despite her appearance, that caught his attention immediately. Emma scanned the cafe, spotting a handsome man in the corner who matched the vague description her mother had given her. Great, she thought. He's attractive. That will make this even more satisfying when he makes an excuse to leave early. Emma? Daniel stood as she approached. That's me, she replied with forced cheerfulness. And you must be Daniel. As they sat down, Emma braced herself for the judgment, the polite but distant conversation that would inevitably lead to a quick exit. But something unexpected happened. Daniel smiled at her, a genuine smile that reached his eyes, and began asking questions about her life, her work as a children's librarian, her interests. So, what made you agree to a blind date? He asked after they'd ordered coffee. Emma hesitated. The truth seemed too harsh suddenly. My mother can be persistent. What about you? My sister thinks I work too much, Daniel admitted. She might be right. What do you do? Emma asked, realizing she knew almost nothing about this man. Daniel paused. I work in tech, he said simply. Software development. The conversation flowed more easily than Emma had anticipated. Despite her best efforts to be unlikable, Daniel seemed genuinely interested in her thoughts and opinions. He laughed at her jokes, listened attentively when she spoke about her passion for children's literacy, and shared stories about his own childhood love of reading. By the time they finished their coffee, Emma felt a twinge of guilt about her appearance. Daniel hadn't once looked embarrassed to be seen with her, hadn't checked his phone for an escape route, hadn't made any excuses to leave. "Would you like to take a walk?" he suggested. "There's a nice park nearby." Emma found herself nodding, confused by the warmth spreading through her chest. This wasn't how the morning was supposed to go. As they strolled through the park, Emma noticed details about Daniel she had missed in the cafe. The way his eyes crinkled when he smiled. How he listened with his whole body, turning toward her when she spoke. The gentle way he guided her around puddles from the previous night's rain. "So, why did you really dress like this today?" Daniel asked suddenly, his voice gentle and free of judgment. Emma stopped walking, caught off guard by the direct question. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you don't strike me as someone who normally dresses to repel people," he said with a small smile. "And your makeup is deliberately unflattering, which suggests effort rather than carelessness." Heat rushed to Emma's cheeks. I was trying to sabotage the date," she admitted, unable to meet his eyes. "I thought if I looked terrible enough, you'd make an excuse to leave, and I could tell my mother that blind dates don't work for me." To her surprise, Daniel laughed. "That's actually pretty clever. Though I have to say, I'm glad it didn't work." Emma looked up, meeting his gaze. "Why didn't you leave?" "Most guys would have taken one look at me and headed for the door." "I've learned that appearances can be deceiving," Daniel said thoughtfully. "Some of the most beautiful people I've met were ugly on the inside. I was more interested in getting to know you than judging your outfit." Something shifted between them in that moment. A honesty that cut through the pretense and games that often characterized early dating. Emma felt seen in a way she hadn't experienced before. "Would you consider giving me a second chance?" Daniel asked. "A real date this time, where neither of us is trying to sabotage anything?" Emma smiled, a genuine smile that transformed her face. "I'd like that." What Emma didn't realize was that their chance meeting was about to change both their lives in ways neither could have imagined. As they continued walking, sharing stories and discovering connections, they were laying the foundation for something rare and precious. The next morning, Emma woke to a text from Daniel suggesting dinner that evening. She spent more time than she cared to admit choosing an outfit that reflected who she really was, a simple blue dress that brought out her eyes, paired with comfortable flats and minimal, natural makeup. When Daniel picked her up, his appreciative glance made her heart flutter, but it was his words that truly touched her. "You look beautiful," he said. "But I would have been just as happy to see you in yesterday's outfit." The restaurant he chose was elegant but unpretentious, a small Italian place with soft lighting and delicious food. As they talked over pasta and wine, Emma found herself opening up about her dreams, her fears, the complicated relationship with her mother who wanted so desperately to see her settled. "She means well," Emma sighed. "She just can't understand that I'm waiting for something real, not just settling for companionship." Daniel nodded. "My parents were the same way before they passed. They wanted to see me with someone who would stand by me through anything." "I'm sorry about your parents," Emma said softly. "Thank you. It was a long time ago, but their values shaped who I am." Daniel hesitated, then added, "There's something I should tell you, Emma. About my work." Emma tilted her head, curious about his sudden seriousness. "I wasn't entirely truthful yesterday. I do work in tech, but..." He took a deep breath. "I founded Tech. I'm the CEO." Emma's brow furrowed. Tech? The company that makes those educational apps for children with learning disabilities? Daniel nodded, surprised by her specific knowledge. "We use those at the library." Emma exclaimed. "They're amazing. The kids love them, and they've helped so many of our regular visitors improve their reading skills." This was not the reaction Daniel had expected. Most people, upon learning about his company, immediately made the connection to his wealth. Emma's first thought had been about the impact of his work. "So you're successful, I take it?" Emma asked, beginning to understand his hesitation. Daniel laughed softly. "You could say that. The company is valued at over $1 billion now." Emma's eyes widened. "$1 billion, you're a billionaire?" "On paper, yes. Though most of that is tied up in company shares," Daniel explained, watching her carefully for signs of changed behavior. Emma sat back in her chair, processing this information. "And you agreed to a blind date set up by your sister?" "I wanted to meet someone who didn't know about the money," Daniel admitted. "Someone who would see me, not my bank account. So I showed up looking like a disaster, and you're secretly one of the richest men in the city," Emma said slowly, then burst into laughter. That's actually hilarious." Her genuine amusement, free from calculation or pretense, made something in Daniel's chest loosen. This was exactly why his sister had thought they would be perfect for each other. As weeks turned into months, Emma and Daniel's relationship deepened. Emma continued her work at the library, refusing Daniel's offers to help financially, determined to make her own way. Daniel respected her independence, finding in her a partner who challenged him intellectually and emotionally rather than someone impressed by his wealth. Their journey wasn't without obstacles. Emma's insecurities sometimes surfaced, especially when they attended industry events where sleek, polished women eyed Daniel with interest. Daniel struggled with trust, years of people wanting him for his money making it difficult to believe in Emma's genuine feelings. 6 months into their relationship, their first major fight erupted after a charity gala where a business associate had mistaken Emma for a server rather than Daniel's date. "Maybe I don't belong in your world," Emma said tearfully in his car afterward. "I'm just a librarian. I don't know how to navigate all this wealth and privilege." "That's exactly why you belong in my world," Daniel countered. "You're real, Emma. You care about people, not status. Do you think I want to be with someone who fits perfectly into that shallow environment?" "But I embarrassed you tonight," she insisted. "No, you didn't." Thompson embarrassed himself with his assumptions. "There's a difference." Daniel took her hand. "I fell for you when you were deliberately trying to look your worst, remember? What does that tell you about what matters to me?" That night marked a turning point in their relationship. Emma began to truly believe that Daniel loved her for herself, not despite her ordinary background but because of the values and perspective it gave her. For Daniel, Emma's presence in his life brought balance and joy he hadn't known was missing. Her apartment became a sanctuary from the pressures of his position, a place where he could simply be Daniel, not the tech wunderkind or wealthy CEO the world saw. A year after their first meeting, Daniel took Emma back to the cafe where they'd first met. As they sat at the same corner table, he reached across and took her hand. "Do you remember what you were wearing that day?" he asked with a smile. Emma groaned. "How could I forget? That awful plaid shirt and those baggy jeans. I looked ridiculous." "You looked beautiful to me," Daniel said softly. "Because even then, I could see who you really were. Someone brave enough to defy expectations. Someone who valued authenticity over appearances." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Emma's breath caught as he opened it to reveal a ring, not the ostentatious diamond she might have expected from a billionaire, but a delicate sapphire that matched her eyes, set in a simple band. "I don't want to change who you are, Emma. I don't want to pull you into my world and watch you become someone else. I want us to build our own world together." Daniel's voice was steady but filled with emotion. "Will you marry me?" Tears filled Emma's eyes as she nodded. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I will." Their wedding was a reflection of their relationship, elements of luxury balanced with meaningful simplicity. They exchanged vows in the library where Emma worked, surrounded by books and the children she had helped learn to read. The reception was held in a beautiful garden, intimate despite the high-profile guests in attendance. Emma's mother, who had once been so desperate to see her daughter settled, watched with tears in her eyes as Emma and Daniel shared their first dance. "I never imagined this," she admitted to Emma later. "When I was setting up those blind dates, I just wanted you to find someone kind who would make you happy. I never dreamed of all this." Emma smiled, watching Daniel across the room as he chatted with her father. "The money doesn't matter, Mom. It never did. What matters is that he sees me, really sees me, and loves me exactly as I am." In the years that followed, Emma and Daniel built a life that balanced his business success with her passion for education. Together, they established a foundation that created libraries in underserved communities, combining his resources with her expertise to make a meaningful difference. They faced challenges, of course. The public scrutiny that came with Daniel's position. The adjustment to parenthood when their daughter, Lily, was born. The occasional clash of perspectives that came from their different backgrounds. But through it all, they returned to the truth that had brought them together, that love sees beyond appearances, beyond circumstances, to the heart of who a person truly is. On their 5th anniversary, Daniel surprised Emma with a scrapbook. The first page held a photograph she had never seen before, a picture of her entering the cafe on that first blind date, her deliberately unflattering outfit in full view. "You took a picture of me?" she asked, astonished. Daniel nodded. "My sister made me promise to at least document who showed up, since I'd refused so many of her setups before. I took it right before you saw me." Emma studied the image, seeing herself through his eyes for the first time, the determined set of her shoulders, the flash of intelligence in her eyes despite the ridiculous outfit. "What did you think when you saw me walk in?" she asked softly. Daniel's answer was immediate and sincere. "I thought, there she is. The woman I've been waiting for." Emma looked up, meeting his gaze with wonder. "Even looking like that?" "Especially looking like that," he said with a smile. "Because it told me everything I needed to know about you, that you were brave, independent, and completely uninterested in impressing anyone. In a world where everyone was trying to impress me, that was the most attractive thing I'd ever seen." As they turned the pages of the scrapbook together, reliving their journey from that first awkward meeting to the life they'd built, Emma reflected on how differently things might have turned out if she hadn't tried to sabotage that blind date, or if Daniel had been the kind of man who judged by appearances. Sometimes the universe has a strange way of bringing two souls together. Sometimes our worst attempts at pushing people away lead us straight to the ones who will love us most completely. And sometimes, the person who sees us at our deliberate worst is exactly the one who will cherish us at our authentic best. "So that's our story," Emma said, looking directly at the camera with a warm smile. "From a deliberately sabotaged blind date to a love that changed both our lives. I never expected to find my soulmate when I was trying my hardest to drive someone away. But that's the thing about love, it finds us when we're not looking, sees us when we're trying to hide, and stays with us through all of life's transformations." She reached for Daniel's hand, their fingers intertwining naturally after years of practice. "If there's one thing I've learned from our journey, it's that authenticity is the most powerful force in the world. Being truly yourself, even when that self is wearing a terrible outfit and trying to end a date before it begins, is what allows the right people to find you." Daniel nodded, his eyes never leaving Emma's face. "And sometimes, the greatest gifts come disguised as challenges. If Emma had shown up looking perfect that day, I might never have seen the strength of character that made me fall in love with her." Emma turned back to the camera. "So if you're out there wondering if your perfect match exists, or if you're trying too hard to be what you think others want, remember our story. Remember that love doesn't care about appearances or bank accounts or perfect first impressions. Real love sees the truth of who you are and chooses you anyway." "Thank you for joining us on this journey," Daniel added. If our story touched your heart or gave you hope, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more reminders that life's most beautiful moments often arrive in